Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because we're looking at one of the most fascinating shifts in modern wellness. We're going to unpack a massive, growing 2026 health and wellness trend, how and why so many people are fundamentally rethinking their relationship with alcohol. Whether you're a casual social drinker or someone who already tracks every health metric on a smartwatch, the data and cultural shifts we're seeing right now are just incredibly compelling.
You've probably noticed more people ordering a mocktail or doing a dry month without necessarily calling themselves sober. I wanted to start right there with that quote because it really hits the nail on the head. This isn't just a small, isolated niche anymore. It is a massive, mainstream cultural shift in how everyday people think about alcohol. We're seeing it at dinners, at happy hours, and right in our own homes. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the sober-curious shift. Second, we're rethinking moderate drinking. Third, we'll dive into the immediate health benefits. And finally, we'll cover your low-pressure experiment. Let's get right into it, completely judgment-free.
Part 1, the sober, curious shift, and how we're moving beyond that old all-or-nothing mindset.
So, what does being sober curious actually mean? Well, it is definitely not just a synonym for strict sobriety. It describes people who are questioning and reducing their relationship with alcohol, but critically without necessarily eliminating it entirely. That specific distinction, the without necessarily eliminating it entirely part, is the exact reason this movement has just exploded. It's a spectrum, not a light switch.
For decades, society really leaned on this old paradigm of strict sobriety. It carried a very heavy all-or-nothing framing. If you wanted to evaluate your drinking, society essentially told you that you had to put yourself into a rigid box. But the new sober-curious approach? It's flexible. It simply allows for questioning and reducing. That old way kept a lot of folks from even looking at their habits because the stakes just felt way too high. This new framing simply invites curiosity.
And multiple trend reports have actually named this movement as a sustained, growing health and wellness trend for 2026. So this isn't some passing fad or a quick January challenge that everyone forgets about by February. It is a major, lasting shift in how we approach our overall well-being.
Moving into part 2, rethinking moderate drinking and the actual science driving this shift. A huge catalyst for this is simply a better public understanding of how even moderate drinking affects the body. It has totally changed the calculation for people. For the longest time, the conversation was literally only about heavy drinking, right? We thought the liver only struggled with huge volumes of alcohol. But lately, science has pulled back the curtain on the physiological costs of just 1 or 2 drinks. The latest data reveals how even minor amounts of ethanol force your body to completely change its biological priorities. People are making different choices now, simply because we finally understand these hidden costs. Let's actually break those costs down because the underlying biology here is fascinating. Moderate drinking secretly sabotages 3 absolutely vital areas of health: sleep quality, physical recovery, and long-term health. Starting with sleep, alcohol might act like a sedative to knock you out initially, but as your body metabolizes it, it triggers this massive rebound effect in your nervous system. That effectively blocks the crucial deep REM sleep cycles your brain absolutely needs to clean itself and lock in memories. Second is physical recovery. The minute you consume even 1 drink, your liver immediately stops its normal everyday jobs, like processing regular toxins and repairing muscle tissue, and entirely reroutes its energy to clear the ethanol. It basically treats it as an immediate biological threat. This drastically blunts your physical recovery and acts as a silent energy killer for the next day. When people learn that their casual moderate drinking is secretly draining their daily energy and chronically impacting their long-term health at a cellular level, well, their entire perspective shifts. But it's not purely a biological calculation. There's this equally important cultural move happening at the same time. We are shifting away from alcohol-centered socializing toward other forms of genuine connection. People are realizing you don't need to base every single interaction, date, or networking event around a bar. We're finding new, higher-quality ways to connect where alcohol isn't the primary glue holding the whole event together. Which brings us to part 3, the immediate health benefits and what you actually notice when you cut back. This tangible return on investment for your health is exactly what keeps this trend growing. The consistently reported effects are so clear: better sleep quality, a more stable mood, and noticeably better next-day energy. When you remove that moderate sleep disruption we just talked about, your REM architecture normalizes remarkably fast. Your brain actually gets to properly clean itself again. Plus, by removing the constant depressant effects and those nervous system spikes caused by alcohol, your dopamine and serotonin levels begin to naturally stabilize. This leads to a much flatter, predictable, and manageable mood baseline. You wake up feeling genuinely rested, your emotions are way less volatile, and you simply have more fuel in the tank. And the truly beautiful part is the timeline. These benefits show up incredibly quickly. A short experiment like a dry month is very often entirely enough for you to notice a real, undeniable personal difference. You don't have to just take a doctor's word for it, and you don't have to rely on anyone else's advice. Your own body will give you the feedback loudly and clearly in a matter of weeks. Finally, part 4, your low-pressure experiment and how to actually try this out. If you take one thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this. You do not need to declare permanent sobriety to explore this. We are explicitly removing the pressure of some permanent moral mandate. This is entirely about self-experimentation. It's about being a scientist of your own life and gathering data without any heavy, lifelong commitments hanging over your head.
So here is a step-by-step framework to conduct this low-pressure personal science experiment. Step 1, set a defined trial period. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a full dry month. Just give it a start and end date. Step 2, find non-alcoholic alternatives for those social rituals you'd miss. Grab a great mocktail or a sparkling water so you keep the fun ritual without the alcohol. And step 3, simply pay attention to what you actually notice. Track your sleep, monitor your mood, and just gauge your morning energy levels.
To sum it all up, everything we've covered today really points to this. The Sober Curious movement is just a low-pressure way to gather real information about your own relationship with alcohol. It's way less about taking a stance and entirely about getting genuinely curious about how alcohol affects you personally. And frankly, that is incredibly valuable information that everyone deserves to have about their own body, regardless of where they eventually land. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to reflect on today. Have you ever tried a dry period? And if you did, what did you truly notice about yourself? The answers might genuinely surprise you. If you found this explainer helpful, I'd love it if you left a comment with your own experiences. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss our future